Hi, and thank you for joining me on this chat with at such a brief notice. Uh, I'm glad that you could take the time and share your thoughts on what is generally seen as a morbid subject. Um, so, my first question, without much ado, what is death according to you?
Hi, Bunty. Thanks for having me here and to give me like a chance to speak about something that we are all experiencing today, and in some sense have been going through it, one way or the other.
Hmm.
Uh, well, what according to me is death? Uh, in the most simplest words, it is definitely losing a person, um, losing so many memories associated with that person um, to the extent that you don't realize that you probably liked or loved that person so dearly till you've lost them,
Hmm.
um, and the whole feeling that when they've passed, you're like, oh my god, like there were so many things I would have rather done, or there are so many things so many things I could tell her or him, and suddenly you realize how important life is and how much we take for granted on a daily basis. I mean, we sometimes don't deliberately stay in touch with people because you don't want to, you're not in the right mood, or sometimes you just you want to stay in touch, but it's not possible because of the way you're committed to different things in life. And that's the moment it hits you that you've not valued people in your life, and when you lose them you suddenly value them so much. It's
Hmm.
like a Picasso painting, so to say, right?
Yeah. In fact, you put up a very beautiful thought. So, my second question is not about death, but about life. Um, you, your first part of the answer, when you said that we lose not only the person, but so many memories associated with them. And what struck me was that what is life but these experiences that we have, these interactions that we have with certain kind of people for brief moments. So, say you and I meet and if, have shared certain work memories or personal memories or friendship memories, or we are related through blood or marriage or any other way that we have interacted, or even as strangers sometimes on a small journey here and there. But that is life. Like between you and me, the life is each interactivity and each memory that we associate with each other. Uh, this understanding, would you want to go a little deeper into this? How does understanding death or the loss of someone makes us um, relook at these what would otherwise be seen as normal or simple instances of life? What's the big deal if I didn't meet you today if I said I would? Hello?
Um, yeah, I'm with you. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how to answer that because uh, like so for example when I was talking about the so many memories that you shared with that person.
Yeah.
I just have a very simple thought behind this, that we all talk such wonderful things about someone when they have passed on, but we don't say those nice things to that person's face when they are with us. um,
Mm.
like
Yeah.
and this I'm just saying that these small things, but they're so key, and this finish of relationships, right? we miss out on we miss out on doing because we are like, yeah, okay, whatever, like there's always time in life to tell that person that something I liked about that person or whatever. But the moment this tragedy strikes you, you're like, oh my god, remember how she used to be, how she used to make a joke out of everything, or how she used to dress so beautifully, or whatever, like whatever that little thing, or how she used to be so helpful for people whom she didn't even know well. Like every little thing of that person, that whatever that person did suddenly matters to you, and I mean, to me, I find it also funny, that we don't want to see it when that person is alive or want to share with that person, but we only tend to see it once that person is no more with us.
Okay, I like this. I think so. Are you saying that our either our judgment or our ego or our self-importance in various ways? I don't only mean personally, but say work life or some other emphasis uh, uh, on different topics. So I will not give you what should be due to you. Suppose I really like something you said, and I don't even bother telling you that I really like this about you. It could be a simple thing like I like the way you're dressed up, or this line that you said is so provocative or profound, or this gesture that you did for me when I needed it. Sometimes we don't even bother. We just take it for granted, specifically with people who are close to us. So I like the fact that you're saying that uh, one must focus in living in the present in that sense, perhaps, to to be able to appreciate what is happening in front of us. So we've already
Yeah.
moved on. Perhaps you did something good for me, and I'm like, yeah, we are known to each other, and we've been doing this for each other for such a long time. It doesn't matter. Instead of
Hmm.
really giving it importance that you may have actually gone out of your way, or at least just to acknowledge instead of
Yeah.
just. um I remember there was this. I don't know if this has happened in one of the earlier podcasts. I have mentioned it. This friend and I were talking about when we get into auto rickshaw or a cab, and by default we used to thank the driver before we,
Hmm.
like went our way. And at some point, one of the days that we were talking, and he says, "But I don't mean the thank you that I said to him." Because it's just good manners. I don't even bother with it. He's
Yeah.
alive or dead in the next moment, perhaps. It's a very
Hmm.
dark
Hmm.
way to put it, but it really, that is what the part is, because I have already reached my destination. I am already, my mindset is in what I'm going to do there or get on with my life. But just
Hmm.
that brief moment of acknowledging that I'm thankful that you got me from point A to point B, and without your help, I would have perhaps not reached it. Money being just one aspect, obviously, that is an important aspect, but it is just a mode of exchange. For all the money in the world, if I'm not able to move from point A to point B for any reason,
Hmm.
without that person or his cab or whatever, I may not have reached. That acknowledgement is necessary. It doesn't make me lesser or make him more. It's just human. It's just, uh,
Yeah.
and I think with the
And I think,
sorry,
like you said, right? We just feel that, the world owes it to us in some sense sometimes. I mean, it's yeah,
yeah,
it's unfortunate, but we feel like, hey, come on, so what big deal, like I don't think we sometimes stop to think that, that person could have gone through a little bit more to probably do this for you. And even if it's, like you said, in this case, an auto rickshaw guy, right? But this is funny because I'll tell you something. When I'm back home
yeah,
and I'm taking the auto rickshaw, I'm very used to, getting into the rickshaw like I'm here, so here I'll get into the taxi and say, hello, and then, oh, yeah, let's go here. And how are you today? And we have a small conversation.
yeah.
It's never disconnected. So when I go back there, I get into the auto and say, hello, bhaiya, so
Hmm.
sometimes they kind of look at me through the rearview mirror as to who's this nutcase sitting behind me, why she's saying hello, bhaiya, or whatever, hello, whatever, bhai saab, or whatever. So then after we get off and I'm like, thank you, and once I was with someone and they're like, no, listen, you don't need to thank them. What's wrong with you? You're not in Singapore, you're in India. And I'm like, I don't know. It's basic human etiquette, right? And then people find it funny. They make fun of me, honestly. So
Yeah.
if I take, taxis or rickshaws with my friends back there, they think,
Hmm.
listen, this you're being just to show you, you're saying a hello and a thank you. And I'm like, oh, isn't that basic courtesy?
No, because
So this is how I think, huh?
we do this in malls and where we meet the so-called elite or our kind of people. So it's automatic. Like a
Hmm.
stranger, you would say hello, excuse me, or thank you,
Hmm.
or even ask for advice. I've had strangers talk to me, "Okay, how do you think this shirt looks?" And you're like, yeah,
Ah, nice.
yeah.
Hmm.
So it's not like abnormal really. Just that we have
Hmm.
this whatever different kind of barriers in our mind. A lot of them
Yes.
socio-economic at times, or even geographic, like you mentioned. In one part of the world, you find it's all right to do.
Cultural also, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
in our case, it's very cultural. We don't do it there, right? And we don't even sort of chat up strangers. Somehow we've been taught not to do that.
yeah.
So,
And also, I think we
so
are
many
a
other
little
things.
fearful,
Yeah.
perhaps. So this
Yeah.
so another this is beautiful because like all the chats, this is going in its own way to a different direction. So I want to build up on this. So are there other things that strike you as important now that you said that you have faced a couple of uh, deaths in the last year? Has this changed you, and what is this change, or has this made you contemplate certain things about life, about yourself, about relationships, about work, anything at all? Would you want to
Hmm.
tell us something about that?
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, with every, literally, I lost four people in the last year, and they were all very close,
Hmm.
when every time I got that news, it felt little, it felt like a piece of me is gone, a big sort of a part of my life is gone because I have immense amount of memories with that person, meeting them as kids or spending time, and they're playing a very important role in my life as such. So um, I remember every time I got a news, I have changed a little. I mean, I take extra effort. Literally, I do this now. I take extra effort to stay in touch with even my relatives who are a little far off. I call them. I try and call them once a month. My aunts, my uncles, my cousins, because I feel like you never know. After I don't want to be in the situation where tomorrow if I get to know something and I feel that oh no, I didn't even bother to do this much. So I take the extra effort, like even to speak to my parents every day. I mean, it always happened, but today it's a conscious decision that you know I like if I miss a call, I'm like I better call back because I don't know. I mean, it's not a fear factor per se, but it's just that I don't want to be in a situation where I feel that, oh, I could have probably spoken on that, probably the last time. You never know how the way things are. So it's made me more aware of, being connected to people, which I actually never realized till last year, very honestly. I never realized because I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I mean, okay, everybody's doing that, everybody's busy, and I don't want to disturb anybody. Nobody's disturbing me. Kind of an attitude has changed a lot, quite drastically, actually. So that is one big thing that I see in myself, which has, definitely changed.
Uh,
Um,
one more thing that comes to mind is when you started taking these initiatives, the world being the world and relatives being relatives. Has there been how have they reacted? Have they been surprised, or has the connection been seamless? What's the scene from their
i-
end?
in some instances, it has been seamless because for them it mattered that I called, and some instances I'm sure they were like, "What's happening?" Like, okay, like. And sometimes when they miss a call, I drop a message saying, "Hey, I tried calling you. I thought of you, so I just wanted to say hi and call me back whenever you're free." So I'm sure they're wondering that what's wrong with her. Like I don't know whatever happened to her, but I still hear back from them. So it's been okay. And actually, it's very interesting that you asked because when I they call me back and they're like so and when I'm like okay great so all's well, okay, fantastic, okay, I'll see you around soon and take care and stay safe. They're like, oh, so that's it, you have nothing else to ask? I'm like, no, I just generally wanted to talk to you. So they find it strange that I want to generally call and talk without a purpose. There is no purpose to my call. But then why do you need a purpose, right? To stay in touch and just say hi to someone. But that's one thing that I notice people find. There's no purpose for our call,
Yeah,
which is okay. I mean, it's fine. Mm.
this, in fact, provokes me to think, why don't I do this with strangers as well? I try and talk to a lot of people, but
Mm.
very often I find myself uh, like if I'm walking on the street or something, or I do not feel like chatting up with you or something. So I try and avoid those conversations, or I will try and change my way so that you do not notice me. I've done this very often.
Hmm.
Not necessarily because I'm against you, but I may just want to be with myself at that point of time. But now you're actually making me rethink whether uh, one should spend time on doing what is important. Um, my personal feeling about a couple of bereavements that I faced in the last 1 or 2 years with some people who were very close. Uh, I think the guilt of, oh, I could have done this or I could have done a lot more in terms of just basic decent human manners like interaction has been at times it has been overwhelming. One wants to reach out, and but listening to you today, it reminds me that while I may have dramatized my rapport and relationship with those who've gone away, I'm yet to, make amends with people who are spending time in and around me. Maybe it is a good way to look at things that there is a certain time limit to our interaction. Uh, let's make the moments count. Let's make the interaction count as much as we can. Obviously, every time we pick up the call, we are not going to really connect as deeply as
Right,
all. But sometimes it's
right,
okay to know that you are well, I'm well, and we don't need to agree on everything. It's okay to have a different point of view.
right.
So maybe the two things that come out are a sense of urgency to do right, to be kind, if I were to use the term, and another thing is to value what you have instead of looking at only the negatives of any kind of rapport or relationship that we have.
Hmm.
So tell me something in terms of a negative part to this. Is it a sense of impending fear of death also that has crept in? Has that or any of those kind of thoughts come that, oh, maybe I'm getting older, maybe we are not as strong as we thought, maybe we are more vulnerable to disease and death? It's not that we didn't know, but I'm talking about now experiential
Hmm. Yeah,
feelings. Oh, I have gone through this, and like I'm sure you also, I've had people telling me 27, 28-year-old people have passed away. It's
yeah.
really not enjoyable at all to listen to such stuff because it just gives a different perspective to things. So, has anything like
Hmm.
happened?
Um, so it has not been a recent experience, but almost, I would say almost 2 decades back, actually, when I lost my uncle.
Okay.
Yeah, he was 27, 28-year old actually. This is exactly the same age that we're talking about. We lost him to a car accident, um, and it was mind numbing for me. I remember having no recollection of the days, those days when I got the news, um, till the funeral happened and people in the house. I really have very, very poor, memory of it, because
Hmm.
I was in some sort of a shock. It was unbelievable. I was very close to him, and he used to drive me to college every day, and he used to take me out for long drives. He's taught me driving, on a sumo, which is a very tough vehicle for girls, because that time it didn't have the 4x4 and all that. But he used to teach me. He was like, no, no, I have to teach you. And like, I was very close to him.
Hmm.
Losing him, because he was so young, and he was a man of so many dreams, because his visa had just come in. He was supposed to go overseas for a job, and I remember how the world collapsed, around me. I remember seeing my mom, literally, on the bed for the next 2 years, because she couldn't cope with the fact that, because she was in the car with him, when the accident happened,
Hmm.
and she survived. The driver survived, and he was in the front, and he took the hit, and
Hmm.
he passed. And honestly, it was the worst time of my life, if I have to really think about it, if I go back now. um, but I still have silver linings. Like, I think of the learnings that I have from there. It was in that moment I realized so many people, so many strangers, were spending days and nights in our house, helping us cope, you know, grieve, getting us food, like getting our guests, like, teas and, like, things like that. um my dad doesn't even remember. He was like, I remember going to the morgue to get the body. He's like, I don't know how many people who booked the car, who got things done. There was somebody with him who signed the papers. He's like, I can't remember, because we were all in a bit of a shock that it was a very big one. My mom had just survived it. It was a massive accident. The car was smashed beyond recognition. It was really bad. So for us, it was a big shock. And I remember how those were silver linings I still remember out of that incident. It's amazing how people can come together, at a time when you the least expect it, and you don't expect it from people who are really not known to you. Um, I mean, though it's a dark phase and I really have very few memories, but this is one amazing feeling. And till today, you'll not believe, every time I look back and even in where we live, right? The apartment that we live back in India, where my parents live, everyone took turns to stay up with us in the night, feed us, take care of us, drop us to school, because my exams were going on. My final exams were going on. I was in college. It was my annual exams going on. So nobody knows in the house how things function for the next 1 month, but people took turns. And so every time if a mom is upset with the neighbors, I'm like, listen, right, that these are the people who have stood by us in one of the most difficult times. And I know that we may not agree on everything, or you may not like them every time, because everybody makes mistakes, but remember that this is what it counts. Like, this is what shows that, that's an excellent community that you live in. Like, and she always acknowledges it, and she's like, yeah, actually you're right. Like, it's a chota mota cheese. Let's just forget and move on. Like, that happens. But like I say, right, every bad experience can also have teachings and good teachings, and they show you a different side of, life or an experience itself. So for me, this is what I remember a young person passing on, and my thoughts behind it.
I like how you view things, because what you're sharing is, I think, absolutely cataclysmic for any of us. If it were to happen to any of us, I don't think uh, any of us would be able to take it easily. But the fact that you're being a young person, you noticed the other aspects of being alive. So my question to you: so does being alive actually mean doing things in service for people in hindsight? Because everything else that we do for ourselves seems to just quit at the moment of death, unfortunately.
Hmm. Hmm.
But these things, like strangers or your neighbors and people whom you didn't know, somehow managed to help you out. So it has affected you, and whatever I have known of you due to our interaction on professional and personal fronts, I think I've always found you uh, resilient to a larger extent, instead of breaking down at the first given moment. And there are challenges in life which are not necessarily as big as that, but they are difficult, and you've certainly managed to come across as a person who sees things objectively, doesn't get overwhelmed by circumstances. So would you think uh, uh, a sense of service towards everyone else, known or unknown, is a good way to live life, now that we are also looking at COVID and how people are helping each other out back in India, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So is that
Absolutely.
yeah?
I mean, I don't know whether I need to even sort of, vouch for that fact that it is a very important way of living. I feel like today there was a bit of a gap in all of our lives where we suddenly went into our own cocoons. We're all trying to earn money. We're all trying to do the whole rush thing. COVID, COVID coming into everybody's life at the same time snapped us out of the rut that we were in. Because we didn't care about anybody else. We cared only about ourselves, our families. We have to do this, we have to do that. We had to take those expensive holidays. We need to buy all this nonsense, whatever, right? So
Yeah.
this has made us realize that everything else is just material driven. Today, literally, if you have to put your finger to one thing that you value, you will only say life. There's nothing else that is of any significant value, right? So this whole community thing also, like in India, I'm so impressed the kind of amount of work, sheer efforts people are putting to help each other. It is it's massive, and it is definitely something that had not been done this often till we were hit with this tragedy. So sometimes, right, when you hit the bump, you start seeing a different perspective on things.
This is, I was smiling when you shared this because I just remembered a conversation I had with a security guard of some building where I was collecting a package. I told him, "How are you?" He said, "Yeah, I'm good." I said, "Yeah, the first objective is to stay alive for the next 1 or 2 years." And
Hmm.
he said, "Why?" And for the next, I think 15, 20 minutes, besides laughing, I was thinking, yeah, what a egocentric statement that is for me also, that I am going to do something that will ensure this.
Hmm.
But then why does one have to be fearful of the concept itself that you
Hmm.
may not make it? Why not just live every moment fully?
Hmm.
And he looked at me like, what a dumb guy you are. Like, why are you? And I was like taken aback because it's just one thing that I keep telling everyone. It's just a conversation starter or kind of thing. But he just said, why?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
Hmm.
Why does one have to assume that I decide on how fragile my life would be or not be? It is already decided, and things will happen the way they happen when they have to happen. But
Hmm.
am I living it fully? Have I really understood the importance of how to go about it? But one thing I have to definitely thank you because uh, every conversation that I've had so far, there have been around quite a few, and everyone has its own flavor. But your conversation is leading to actual actionable small things that one can do and maybe celebrate the miracle of being alive. That is what I would want to take from this brief conversation that we are having today. Is there
Hmm.
anything else that I would like to add, or I think we are good as of right now?
No, we're good. It's been always like it's always a pleasure talking to you. And today, although our topic was morbid enough, and I really, when we started talking, I didn't know what I'm going to talk about, or
Yeah,
if I'll have tiny breakdowns in between while saying something, because I'm that very emotional person. But
yeah,
this has been nice and light.
yeah.
Feel
In
good.
fact, there was a moment where you said something which completely related very strongly with me, and for just half a second, I choked. I said, "Oh my God, this is so real. This is what happens
Mm,
to me as well." But that is the
mm,
beauty of these chats, and I'm hoping that it reaches people and helps them heal or look at things positively.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Mm,
I'll
thanks a
see you.
lot.
Bye.
Yeah. Have a lovely day. Bye.